And in this video I want to go over a couple articles I read from the Edible Apple. Really good articles about some prominent subjects that are going on in the tech industry today. And the first one, as you can see here on my desktop, Nokia's claim of superior antenna performance falls flat. Now this was just written the 19th. Steve Jobs received a lot of flack for his off-the-cuff email messages where he told an iPhone 4 user experiencing reception problems not to cup the device in his left hand. Don't hold it that way, Jobs remarked. At last week's iPhone 4 press conference, Jobs tried to demonstrate how signal attenuation based on how one holds a smartphone is not unique to the iPhone 4. Driving the point home, Jobs showed footage of three smartphones, a BlackBerry Bold, an HTC Droid Ares, and a Samsung Omnia 2, who all exhibited the same behavior as the iPhone when a hand is placed over the antenna. Conspicuously absent from Jobs' video demo was Nokia, who nonetheless sought to use the iPhone 4 press conference as a means to thrust themselves into the spotlight. In a press release issued last Friday, Nokia boldly proclaimed how, unlike Apple, it prioritizes antenna performance over design. And it goes on to quote Nokia, and to paraphrase it, it says they spend thousands of hours in research and how people hold these phones, and they have been doing this from the beginning of time, or since they've started. In fact, let me just read it for you. Antenna design is a complex subject and has been a core competence at Nokia for decades, across hundreds of phone models. Nokia was the pioneer of internal antennas. The Nokia 8810, launched in 1998, was the first commercial phone with this feature. Nokia has invested thousands of man-hours in studying human behavior, including how people hold their phones for calls, music playing, web browsing, and so on. As you would expect from a company focused on connecting people, we prioritize antenna performance over physical design if they are ever in conflict. In general, antenna performance of a mobile device may be affected with a tight grip, depending on how the device is held. That's why Nokia designs our phones to ensure acceptable performance in all real-life cases. For example, when the phone is held in either hand. Nokia has invested thousands of man-hours in studying how people hold their phones and allows for this in designs. For example, by having antennas both at the top and bottom of the phone, and by careful selection of materials and their use in the mechanical design. Whew. Now, a few things. One, they spent thousands of hours studying how people hold their phones for calls and such. Seriously? Meanwhile, John Gruber comically chimes in, quoting, "Judging by how their phones look, must not be a lot of conflicts," unquote. Also, this isn't the first time Nokia has had a little bit of fun at Apple's expense. Just a few weeks ago, they posted a sarcastic blog post detailing the myriad of ways users can hold Nokia devices without experiencing signal degradation. In any event, if Nokia wants to voluntarily piggyback off all the attention directed at Apple to highlight its superior antenna performance, then so be it. At the same time, we can easily cherry-pick numerous instances where users had similar complaints about Nokia devices as they do about the iPhone, and so that's what we've decided to do. Here's a page from the Nokia 6230i user guide, and what do you know? Nokia has the audacity to tell users how to grip their phones. How dare they? And here's the picture. Look, shows him, don't grip it. Look, your device has an internal antenna, it says. As with any radio transmitting device, do not touch the antenna unnecessarily. Now here's a forum thread about the Nokia N90 from way back in 2005. One message reads, "My N90 has a reception problem where in low reception areas when I hold the phone it doesn't get good reception." And there's more. Nokia N90, carrier T-Mobile. How many bars while holding the phone in my hand? Nothing. Not even a drop. How many bars while laying on the table? 1 to 2. So, wow, that sounds familiar. Throughout the entire thread, Nokia is criticized for placing the antenna at the bottom of the device. Meanwhile, a number of forum users suggest that affected users should hold the Nokia N90 at the center of the device or use a handset if they want decent reception. Apparently, AntennaGate stretches back more than 5 years. And then, of course, you have the Nokia E71, hardly a stranger to quirky reception issues. Boy Genius Report discussions the problem in August of 2008. Quote, "There's a word in the big bad internets that the E71-2 is having a bit of reception problems. Well, as dumb as this may seem, the only place to integrate the cellular radio antenna was on the bottom back. It's pretty much the only roomy place on the device where there is no metal. If you're suffering from reception issues with the E71, try this first. Completely cover the bottom black plastic piece with your hand and check out the number of bars you have. Then grab the phone just at the very top by the earpiece and hold it for a couple of seconds. Did your reception just skyrocket? Yeah, ours too. There's only one issue with this. Most people, hold the phone in their hand because they want to use it. Unquote. Now here's another forum post from Nokia's own message boards back in 2008. Quote, I've been told from a friend of mine who works at Nokia about the E71 signal problem. He said it's because the antenna receiver on this phone is on the bottom right of the devices, so when your hand covers the bottom area, the signal weakens. And other user confirms, just tested it, you're right. Unbelievable indeed. And here's video footage of the Nokia E71 reception problems, and you can watch this video anywhere on YouTube. Okay, I'll put the links to the blog here in my description. At least you think we're unfairly picking on Nokia. And at least you think we're unfairly picking on Nokia. Users experience similar problems on the original iPhone as well. And there's some more quotes about that. So there you have it. For all the glee Nokia seems to be deriving from Apple's misfortune, they're not exactly immune from antenna issues themselves, and we can only argue back and forth for hours about whether or not the iPhone 4 issues are overblown, but the ultimate verdict on the issue rests in the actions of actual iPhone 4 owners. It's one thing to have sites like Gizmodo grandstand and start online petitions for free bumpers and solicit videos with showcases iPhone 4 signal drops, but that's just a dog and pony show, really. What really matters is whether or not users are returning the iPhone 4 in masses, and according to Apple or Steve Jobs, that simply isn't the case. Jobs explained that the return rate for the iPhone 4 is thus only 1/3 of the return rate for the iPhone 3GS. So unless the number increases dramatically, the only logical conclusion is that the vast majority of iPhone 4 owners are significantly satisfied and happy with their devices that returning it isn't even an option, antenna issues and all. So you know what? That's complete ownage. He's completely right. Nokia, HTC, they've had these problems going back to the beginning of time with antennas. But no, people want to jump on this problem of Apple's because it's Apple. They're dominating the tech industry, and Gizmodo got sad because Apple broke their dick off in their ass, and now they're mad about it, so they start petitions and this, that, and the other. And the only thing they're going to really gain is people... or is going to have disdain for the blog site. The only people that's going to end up going to Gizmodo are Apple haters. All Apple fans, or just even Apple users, are pretty much getting to the point where they know to avoid Gizmodo if they want a true unbiased story on Apple. You can say the same thing about me. Well, if you want a true unbiased story about Apple, you can't listen to Applesoldier. Well, that's getting to be the same case about Gizmodo. It's fairly obvious that they're just trying to hurt Apple, and no matter what that little piddly blog can do, they're not going to hurt Apple. That's just the way. That's just all there is to it. So why haven't Nokia give out free bumpers and BlackBerry give out free bumpers? Why haven't people made a press frenzy over these over the past few years? You know why? Because they're not Apple. And anytime in the future that if somebody brings up these antenna iPhone 4 issues, I'm just going to say, kiss my ass. You have no clue what you're talking about, idiot. Okay, there's that article. Let's move on to the next one. Michael Arrington takes Consumer Reports to task, and rightfully so. Seemingly out of nowhere, Consumer Reports positioned itself at the center of the iPhone 4 antenna controversy when it removed its recommended rating from the iPhone, citing reception issues. Next, and seemingly as if Consumer Reports was part of the biblical canon, folks became even more enraged at Apple's latest product, and Senator Charles Schumer of New York, or Charles Schmuck of New York, was inexplicably compelled to write a letter to Steve Jobs demanding Apple come up with an iPhone 4 fix. Unbelievable. So what's the big deal? Isn't that what Consumer Reports is supposed to do? Test products and report their findings? Surely there's nothing wrong with that. And there isn't. But over the past week or two, Consumer Reports' stance and articles on the iPhone 4 seem solely directed at attracting more attention and driving more eyeballs to their website. And you know things are bad when even TechCrunch founder Michael Arrington, who's an admitted Android fanboy, can see through the page view generating tactics. Okay? I mean, seriously, think about it. Did you even think twice about Consumer Reports before they put this iPhone 4 article out? Hell no. This iPhone 4 debacle has skyrocketed them to the top of the heap, and they're going to ride this fucking wave as long as they can. And if that means not recommending the iPhone to keep getting page clicks, then that's what they're going to fucking do. So let's go ahead and quote Consumer Reports, or Michael Arrington here. Suddenly, Consumer Reports is crazy for the link bait. The iPhone 4 antenna problem has them going absolutely batshit crazy, and nearly every day they're firing off a new set of recommendations or demands that conflict with the old recommendations and demands. I'd like to say this is just the process of journalism and applaud it, but they actually seem completely schizophrenic. It's not a process, it's a chaos theory. The best parts are the constant updates to all the old articles where they try to justify all their conflicting justifications simultaneously. So they're going back and editing these things. July 2nd, they said iPhone 4's supposed signal woes aren't unique and may not be serious, unquote. The next day, July 3rd, iPhone 4 signal debate rages. We experienced signal loss in some calls, unquote. The next week, or a couple weeks later, July 12th, Consumer Reports can't recommend the iPhone 4, adding, cover the antenna gap with a piece of duct tape or another thick non-conductive material. It may not be pretty, but it works. July 13th, quote, why Apple, and not its customers, should fix the iPhone 4. What happened to the duct tape? July 14th, forget the duct tape. Apple's bumper case alleviates the iPhone 4 signal loss problem. Those inconsistencies aside, Consumer Reports' entire ranking seems out of whack when the iPhone 4 doesn't receive a recommended rating, yet still checks in as Consumer Reports' highest rated smartphone out of the market. It just doesn't make sense. It's an oxymoron. It's our highest rated phone, but we don't recommend it. And adding to the ridiculousness, Consumer Reports still can't give the iPhone 4 a recommended rating, even with Apple's recent decision to hand out free bumper cases to all iPhone 4 owners. All iPhone 4 owners. So why should that's just like putting a bumper case in the box. And if a bumper case comes in the box, you put it on the phone, how does that, well, I don't understand how they could not change it to, we do recommend it now, because since you're getting a free bumper, everything's going to be fine. It's our highest rated smartphone. We can recommend it. But why can't they recommend it even after Apple is giving out the free bumpers? That's fine. But if Consumer Report standards are so high, why bother writing an article talking about how users should use duct tape to alleviate the issue? Why take the time to pen a piece about how Apple needs to fix this problem? Why take the time to write more than one article about the story when the iPhone 4 was never destined to receive a recommended rating from Consumer Reports in the first place? Page views, my friends. Page views. And sure, that ad money might be nice, but for a publication that millions of folks rely on for serious purchasing decisions, it's a little disheartening to see them play the same sort of link bait games typically employed by the likes of Gawker. So they realize this debacle has skyrocketed their publication back to the top of the heap, and now does Consumer Reports actually think they have a more loyal following than Apple computers? Okay, 28 million Apple desktop computer users, not counting the iPhone and iPod Touch users and stuff like that. You actually think all these people ain't going to see this and say, damn, this is completely fucked up. They recommend it, but they don't recommend it. It just seems like they have it in for Apple, or they're just writing 3 or 4 articles about this one phone. Why? They don't write 3 or 4 articles about any other phone like this. Why they dwell? Because it's for link bait. It's page views. And now they've totally destroyed their credibility with me. I'm not going to fucking listen to hardly anything they say, because I know now they're just like everybody else. They're just after page views. If a bad rating will get them page views, maybe they'll just rate something bad so they can get page views. I don't trust them anymore. They've totally blown this out of proportion like everybody else, and I'm sick of it, you know? Apple is going to continue to dominate. They're going to continue to kick ass, and they're going to continue to do what they're doing, and people are going to continue to buy iPhones. No matter how much hatred you have for them, jealousy or bitterness or spite, that's not going to change. You all can pray to your almighty gods all you want, and I don't know, make your little deceitful plans all you want. You can conspirize, if that's even a word, together all you want, but no matter how much you little fake journalist outlets such as Gizmodo get together to try to ruin Apple, you're not going to be able to do it. Don't you understand that? Because Apple makes truly great products, and that is why people buy them. That is why people continue to buy their products through these bullshit stories like you're giving. People know all about this shit, and people are still buying the iPhone, and you all can't fucking stand it, can you? So all I'm saying is, get over it. It's done with. September 30th, if you want to revisit this and write another article about what Apple's doing to fix it or whatever, that's fine. But until then, it's getting old, and you're running your axe completely into the ground, and I'm just getting sick of it, and I think a lot of people are too. Okay? And that's all I got to say about that. OS 10, brothers.